people. Welcome to Jessinio TV. So, if you've seen me before on the Bearded Gooner channel, that's his channel, and this is now my channel. So, a little different. The aesthetics are a little different on here, but nevertheless, this is where you can find me. We'll be doing Premier League news, Arsenal news, all that good stuff on this channel. So, make sure you subscribe. And on today's episode, I have Dan Potts. Everybody say hello to Dan. Dan, say hello to everybody.
Hey, how you doing, Jess? Thanks for having me on, man. It's absolute pleasure to come on to your channel. This is great to see that you're growing in this platform. So, always a pleasure to speak with you, darling.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about the game against Manchester City tomorrow. I know neither of us are really confident that we're going to get a result there, but I just want to talk about it in terms of, the lineup and what we should do with an eye looking forward to the Benfica game, because we didn't necessarily take care of business the other day against Benfica in the first leg. So for me, I thought that maybe Arteta was looking at that game as, I'm going to put my best foot forward. I'm going to put my best lineup out there, try to finish Benfica off so that they could rest people during this Manchester City game. What do you think the lineup is going to look like for Manchester City, knowing that we have to go with a strong lineup against Benfica in the week?
Yeah, well, you're damn right that we didn't do the job on Thursday. I think we missed a lot of chances. I think Aubameyang could have had three. I think if that was Ian Wright or Anelka or Henry, that would have been three or 4-1, and we could have been concentrating on tomorrow, and saying that, yeah, wow, okay, we can go as strong as needed now because we are pretty much through. But the missed chances from Aubameyang has proven that we cannot rest players on Thursday. So for me tomorrow, I'd be rotating. And I think that I'd be trying to say to the team that Thursday is more important now. I expect there to be rotation tomorrow, but I'm still not quite sure about this manager. I just do not ever predict the team right. I just can't ever get it right. I try so hard on the preview shows to say this is what the lineup's going to be, and there's always 2 or 3 changes that come last minute. And there's just not enough transparency for me with this manager. There's always shocks. There's always someone dropped. There's always someone out, injured, last minute you never knew about. And then they're out for like 4 weeks, like Kieran Tierney, when nobody knew that he was even out and he hasn't come back yet. Pablo Mari was absolute world beater, and then we haven't seen him for about 6 weeks. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen tomorrow, but I could guesstimate at the team being quite a bit of rotation with an eye on Thursday night. What I don't want this manager to do is do what he did against Southampton in the FA Cup and just to basically sacrifice that competition and concentrate on the league. Because what I don't want to do is play our strongest team tomorrow, still get beat because they're better than our first team anyway, and then everyone's knackered for Thursday. So I would be looking at trying to rest players personally, Jess, for Thursday night.
Yeah, I think Arteta's going to have to kind of not go with his ego on this one. I have a hard time believing that Arteta's just going to roll over against Pep. There's that little bit of, I don't even want to call it a rivalry, but they're friends. I'm sure he'll want to put his best foot forward against Pep. The last couple of times that we played them, I think the first time that was really bad, right after lockdown, that was really bad. And then when we played them earlier this season, it was kind of like, yeah, we were in it, but not really. They kind of just scored the goal and sat back on us. So I don't know. I feel like we might get a shock from Arteta, and he might go with another strong lineup and still be confident that we could go and beat Benfica. But for me, I would rotate. I really, really would. I would rotate hard against Manchester City because nobody expects us to win this game. It's kind of like a throwaway. I think that we could have maybe done a little bit more if we had shut the door on Benfica during the week, but we just didn't take care of business. So now our options are a little bit less, So I think that we should rotate and go with our strongest lineup against Benfica. Now, what is your score prediction? Just what do you think it's going to be like against Man City tomorrow? Do you think we're going to get annihilated, or do you think we've improved enough defensively to, maybe keep them out for a while and get a close 1-0, 2-0, something like that?
Well, this all depends on the style of play from Arteta, in my opinion. I think we know what Pep Guardiola is going to do because he does the same thing in every single game, and that's play football and do it very, very well. I think that if we were to go there with the understanding that both teams have improved defensively, then I'd like to think that it wouldn't be a hammering, well, either way, I don't think. So My score prediction is going to be 2-0 to Manchester City because I'm thinking that we're going to play a weakened side. I don't feel, however, that we're going to get battered 4 or 5-0, or I hope we don't at least. Because what I feel is I think we're going to try to set up a little bit differently. It's similar to what we did in the FA Cup semi-final where we played that kind of counter-attacking style where Tierney was pinging balls over the top to Aubameyang. I think that is the only way that we're going to be able to try and get anything out of this game. But I just don't think that we have the quality and currently are playing well enough. Although, albeit we have improved, I still don't think it's enough to get 3 points. I would take a point now. If somebody said to me it's going to be 1-1, I would snatch your hand off and I'd say I'll take that. That's much better than I expected it to be. And we go from there. But Thursday night's massive, Jess, for this manager as well. So we have to have one eye on that. And I don't feel like this manager, I'd like to think he doesn't anyway, goes into this game with the strongest possible team and expects that same strongest possible team to play again on Thursday. That to me is just not possible.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And, I thought, a lot of Arsenal fans were saying that the game against Benfica the other day was the biggest game of the season for us. But I think now this game against Benfica coming up this next Thursday is the most important game of the season. So we can't mess this up. I want to see our literal strongest lineup against Benfica. And so do you think, I think Arteta thought that was our strongest lineup against Benfica the last time we played them. Is that your strongest Arsenal lineup, or would you have changed it? Do you think that that's our strongest lineup, what we played against Benfica?
I think it probably was. The only thing I would say is that potentially the two obvious ones for me was Tierney and Partey being out. They would come straight back in if they were fit enough. I don't think that we should do that on Sunday. I think that if they are both fit, they both play on Thursday, and we make sure they're 100% fit. Because obviously Leno's our strongest goalkeeper. I personally would rather see Cedric at right back because I don't rate Bellerin, but obviously this manager does. I think the centre back pairing is an interesting one because I actually think our strongest centre back pairing is Pablo Marie and Gabriel as in terms of individual quality, but we've not seen that as a partnership. Rob Holding's had a good season. David Luiz has always got a mistake in him, but the last few games has been good, so that's an interesting one. I think at left back, Cedric's kind of making do at the moment for Tierney being out, but Tierney's certainly the best left back. I think Thomas Partey would replace Danny Ceballos, but he's been good in the last couple of games. Smith Rowe has been good and then quiet. Erdegaard has impressed me. Saka's just been consistently brilliant, to be honest, the whole season. And again, on Thursday night was our best player. And although Aubameyang had a bit of a shocker in terms of his misses, he was great against Leeds, so I can understand why he played that. I would probably say my prediction for tomorrow would be a few changes from Thursday night's game. I don't think the goalkeeper's going to change. I don't think Bellerin's going to change. I think Tierney will play, and I don't want him to, but I think he will. And I actually think he'll go with David Luiz and Rob Holding at the back. I think he'll play Danny Ceballos and Granit Xhaka because I don't think Thomas Partey will make this game. I think that he will probably look to rotate some of the forwards, though. Wouldn't surprise me if Lacazette and Martinelli come in for somebody like Smith Rowe and maybe even
What about
Saka or
Pepe?
Aubameyang.
We haven't
I
mentioned
just
him
don't.
yet.
I just don't feel that this manager personally wants this guy at this club because
Wow.
I can't tell you what is going on with Pepe and Martinelli. How they are behind Willian is beyond me. I don't quite understand now that Aubameyang's come back in. It's just let's just ship Pepe out straight away after him having probably three of the best games in an Arsenal shirt consistently. We've seen glimpses from Pepe, but we've never seen any form of consistency in terms of 3 or 4 games in a row. And I think he was starting to do that, and he's just been ousted out just because Aubameyang's come back in. And that to me tells me a lot when I'm seeing him and Martinelli now just get 5 or 10 minutes. So I think if you're looking at a situation of game time and minutes, I think Martinelli needs more minutes than Pepe does now. So I don't expect Pepe to play in either of these games. I think he'll be on the bench for both of them. But listen, I might be wrong. Of course, I can never predict this with Mikel Arteta. I never know what he's going to do.
See, the only thing is, I agree that I don't think that Arteta particularly rates Pepe very highly. But what I disagree about is that I think it is important to go ahead and get Pepe minutes because if we're not going to use him, then he needs to be sold.
Mm.
So, and other teams are going to need to see him in order to want to commit to somebody like that. And I think that at Arsenal, we have a kind of a bad history of ruining resource value, and with Pepe, it's going to be difficult for us to recoup any of what we've spent on him. So for me, even though I love Martinelli and I want him to play, if there's only one spot in the front line, against, like, let's say Man City, we want to play Saka on the right and we want to play, I don't know, Lacazette through the middle, and the left-hand side is the only forward spot that's open. I'd almost rather play Pepe, just because I feel like up until from now until the end of the season, if Arteta doesn't rate him, we need to sell him now. He doesn't need to stay another year. Then that means it's not working out. So, but I mean, he has a lot to think about, considering, and even Fabrice, he put in a good comment. I just wanted to leave this up here just because I was thinking about this too, that the mental fragility of this team is insane. And if we go and get battered by Man City, what is the mental state of this team going to be going into that Benfica game? Like, he can't rotate so much that, the team gets killed. He has to keep some continuity in that team to make sure that we don't get killed,
I think it's interesting, the shift in mentality that people are talking to me about, I'm still not witnessing, because I really felt that by getting out some of the dead wood, we'd see a massive shift in mentality and we'd see a different Arsenal. And we lost against Wolves, which was by no means our own fault. And I wanted to see a reaction against Villa. I thought, right, let's just go and batter Villa now. Let's get this shift in mentality everyone keeps talking to me about, and let's just go and absolutely trounce them like they did to us. And we lose 1-0. And I just think, come on, really? Is that what we're seeing? Like, no fight, no desire, no passion, no drive. Some nice passes, but some missed chances again. And then that's what I see on Thursday night as well. And I'm thinking, although Leeds was great, the same team has just been showing me dead football. That was a nice couple of passes, but fluff chances. And I know it's fine margins in football, and it is a funny game that, those goals go in and we're all saying, what a fantastic performance again. But there's always a what if with Arsenal, and I'm fed up of what ifs, I'm fed off of what if we scored against Man City, we would have won. What if Lacazette goes through against Liverpool and Alisson doesn't make that save, we win the game. What if this doesn't happen? What if that? What if we take our chance against Leicester? They wouldn't have beat us 1-0. What if we scored that chance against Burnley? They wouldn't have beat us 1-0. Oh, the Wolves game, if David Luiz wouldn't have got us. What if? It didn't happen. Yeah, we're 10th in the league. We need to accept that where we are is not acceptable at this football club. And I want to see this shift in mentality people keep talking to me about, now that we have the Sackers and Smith Rowes, although they're young. I want to see that mentality and that tenacity that Martinelli has showed whenever he's been on the pitch. Saka is showing consistently. I want to see that throughout. And there are still too many players, I think, personally, in this squad that are the old mentality. Granit Xhaka might be playing well, but as far as I'm concerned, he's a statue. He's treacle. He's slow. He slows all of our play down. He's sideways. He's backwards. Please pass forward, yeah? Please try and make something happen for me. I'm sick to death of this guy, man. He just drives me insane. Bellerin, likewise, another Arsene Wenger player. All the time, this guy is, if he's not foul throwing, then he's trying to cross a ball and he can't do it. There is no way that this guy can be that bad at crossing and still be in an Arsenal shirt 8 years later. He's never improved. So we need to upgrade some of these players, Jess. Do you know what I mean? Still. And I think that we will do that in as well. I hope that we will do that in the summer. My only doubt, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, and I don't know if this is going off a bit, but Bellerin, Holding, Xhaka and Lacazette seem to be playing every single game under Arteta. And they're the players that everybody keeps telling me needs to be upgraded. So does it worry you that we won't see it upgrade and they'll just be there next season playing first team football? Because that worries me with this manager.
I mean, I think I've said this several times, that I think the Arsenal fan base needs to take into consideration that the manager may rate certain players that we don't particularly like. And if he does, then that means that they're not going anywhere. So for me, I'm more of the mindset of, I've accepted the fact that these are probably going to be our players. When you look at the financial situation for Arsenal that we don't really know in its entirety, but we know that we've been told several times that we don't have a lot of money. I can't imagine that we're going to get a right-sided center back. I can't imagine that we're going to get a right back. And I can't imagine that we're going to get another striker. At the very most, I feel like we might be able to get a center midfielder, but that doesn't mean that Granit Xhaka is going anywhere. He still may be a rotational option. So for me, I don't worry about it so much because I've accepted the fact that these are some players that Arteta he likes them. He's given them new deals. They play every game, so it is what it is, but I think if we don't move them out over time, it's going to be a problem. In the situation that we're in, I can kind of justify some of it because we can't get rid of everybody at once. And he doesn't have a lot of options. Like, I don't really believe that. I know Cedric looks like he might be better than Bellerin, but I'd like to actually see it on a day-to-day basis before I make a decision on that. Even like Xhaka, is he that much better? Is Ceballos better than him? Like, is El Neni better than him? I think the problem is that we don't have way better options, so it makes it easier for the manager to justify playing some of these players, but ultimately he likes them, so I'm not super worried about it. It just is what it is. Like, I
I
think we're
think what frustrates me the most, though, Jess, is that we had
mm,
an option to sell Bellerin to PSG for about 30 million. He said no. We could have got
yeah.
Lamptey for 30 million from Brighton. We had a chance. Granit Xhaka was pretty much on the plane to Hertha Berlin, and he begged him to stay. 30 million. No, we don't want that. We want to keep Granit Xhaka. Really? And then Lacazette, we was linked with what? Atletico Madrid, Juventus. We could have got 35 million for him, and he's kept him. And I just think, why would we not upgrade Lacazette for, say, Edouard? Why would we not look to upgrade Bellerin with Lamptey, upgrade Granit Xhaka with Bissouma?
I used to
Arteta just
feel
seems
like
okay.
that. Like, don't like I was angry as well. Like, during the summer when I'm like, so we're not going to sell Bellerin, so we're not going to sell this person, we're not going to do this. Like, but once it became apparent to me that the manager rated these players, I had to, for my own self-care, my own mental state, to just get over it. Like, because at this point, I'm just like, what do we have and how do we use these resources to the best of our ability? And in a long-term rebuild, how do we slowly phase these people out? I do think Lacazette will go in the summer. We're seeing that might be actually on the cards, and that makes sense to me because he's playing better. He's looking for somewhere to go. So now he's starting to make sure that he hits some sort of form. So if he leaves, then that's one. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think Xhaka and Bellerin are going anywhere anytime soon. I think they're favorites under Arteta, like for real, for real. So, you know,
Which is
but
why I'm not convinced by this manager, Jess. Do you know what I mean? But everyone tells
yeah,
me he's brilliant, so I have to just accept it, like you, I suppose.
yeah, that's kind of where I am. So I wanted to talk a little bit about one of our Arsenal legends who's actually being, looked at for a job in the championship with Bournemouth, and that's Thierry Henry. I thought this was a very strange, linking up. When I saw it, I thought it was a joke. I was like, really? Like, Thierry at Bournemouth? I can't see it. What do you think of this potential appointment? It looks like, Bournemouth has asked Montreal to have to be able to talk to Thierry about taking on the job. Do you think that this would work out, or how do you think about this? Like, what do you think?
I don't think Thierry Henry is management style. I just don't. I thought he was an okay pundit, but not an outstanding one. He didn't really show me that he had a massive intelligence of football or of the game tactically. One of the best players I've ever seen live, and one of my favourite players as an Arsenal legend, of course. But I feel Belgium, he learned a lot, but it wasn't really like he was going to be taking any kind of international job anytime soon. Then he went to Monaco, and it was a disaster, absolute disaster. I think he lost about 4 of his first 5 games and got sacked. And then he's gone over to Montreal, which, just let's be honest, is what is all that about? Just, if you want to come into the game, then just take a club that you recognise, that people will recognise, for you to do well at. And of course, he's got the opportunity now to come back to England, which I think is where he wants to be. Of course, him and Patrick Vieira were absolute legends, but I didn't want them at the club because I didn't want their legendary status to be tarnished, because they are that legendary. With Mikel Arteta is fine because he was a good player. That was about as far as it went. He wasn't like this outstanding talent, was he? He was just a good player. So if it goes wrong for him, Arsenal fans are going to hate him and they're not going to tarnish his kind of Arsenal career. But I think personally, Thierry Henry, and I think Jared's just put it in the chat. Has Henry had any managerial success yet? No, he hasn't. So I don't see why this would work out personally, Jess. But I wish him all the best. I want Thierry Henry to be brilliant. I think everybody would sit there now and say, if Thierry Henry does well with Bournemouth and it looks like he's going to be a special manager, then they want to have him at Arsenal just because of the legendary status. But I would say no to that because I just don't see it going well for him at all, personally.
Doesn't this like bring up the question of like, to me this is a bigger issue, with Frank Lampard, Arteta, Thierry Henry, these players, these young managers that are just getting into the game haven't really showed any sort of success. Like, they're not winning leagues anywhere. They're not doing anything. They're coming straight in and getting big managerial jobs. And I think that I think that this is a trend that I'd like to see stop because
Mhm.
I'm not sure that I'm liking the direction. I think I like the idea of a young coach, but I like it in terms of somebody with new and fresh ideas, but's been around the block for a little bit, like a Nigelsmann,
Mm.
somebody like that, or a Jesse Marsh. These you know old players becoming managers and then getting these jobs based on the fact that people like them is problematic to me. Because
Massively.
even Pirlo, it's like I'd like to see this trend stop. I think it's sending the wrong message and it's giving people opportunities that they really haven't earned up to this point. Like, as much as I like Arteta and I think he's trying to do the best that he can, he should not be managing Arsenal, and especially not Arsenal in this position. You know, I don't know.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. It's absolutely spot on, And I was speaking to Manny about it on my channel, and I was saying about what we believe is happening right now with a novice manager. And he said it's because Arsenal are now a novice club because they have novice owners that don't know anything about football. They have a novice board in Edu, and they're trying to bring on another novice to try and help Edu out. And I think now what they've got is a manager who's a novice. And that's why we are in a novice situation. And what that's done is it's led down onto the pitch because we've got novices like Saka and Smith Rowe showing up professionals. And that is exactly what has happened from top to bottom at Arsenal. And it's spot on right. And I don't want that. That's why when Wenger left, I was happy, but I wanted Diego Simeone. And everybody said that'd be awful. We would only win 1-0 and 2-1 every game. Well, do you know what? I'd take that because that means you're going to win trophies. And if you're not going to blast the team 4-0 and 5-0, I don't care as long as I'm winning. If my football team are winning, I'm a happy bunny. And I'm not a happy bunny at the moment because of the position that we're in, man. It sucks at the moment. And I honestly believe, Jess, and people think I'm harsh saying this, if we lose on Thursday, he needs to get sacked because you
Wow.
can't get to February in this position, be 10th in the league and be out of everything. That is not acceptable at this football club. It might be if you're Everton, West Ham, Brighton, Newcastle, but the last time I checked, we were Arsenal. So
Yeah.
we need to, and people think that Chelsea are harsh. Oh, it's really harsh on Frank Lampard. Well, I don't know how they're getting on at the moment. It was 1-1 when I last looked, but they're looking like they're going to get top four now because they got rid of Frank Lampard. So who's going to be laughing at the end of the time? Us when we go, oh, look at Chelsea in fourth, and we're now back in ninth or 10th, where I think we're going to finish. So we need to be realistic about it and say, right, where are we actually going? Have we seen progress from last season? Not in my opinion. So where are we going under this manager?
There's a lot of apathy, I think, in this fan base at this point. Like, we're almost like accepting the fact that, this is where we are, and I can accept it if I can see a clear plan to getting back to where we want to go. And right now, for me, it's inconclusive whether we're going in the right direction or not, because I don't know. And I did a stream like on the terrace the other day where it was like me and like some Chelsea fans, and they're so like, if we were in their position, I think I would be almost like calm, but they're like upset that they are where they are. They're in fourth place. They have tons of talent and a new coach, and they're still upset.
Mm,
And I'm looking like, if we were in their position, we'd probably be okay with it. And I
mm.
think that that's the difference in mentality. Even you can see it in the fan bases, but you can also see it upstairs with the people that are actually running these clubs. And over time, we become okay with being a certain way, being kind of in and around sixth, seventh, whatever. It's fine as long as we get an FA Cup here or there. But we are slipping away. Like, we are slipping away. And I can definitely see that with a couple of bad decisions or bad results coming, in the next couple of weeks, we could be in a really bad position because if Arteta gets kicked out of the Europa League early and we're in 10th place, what does that mean? Like, what does that actually mean? Like, I don't know.
Well, this is the problem we've got, and I have a fear that if we don't take tomorrow seriously in terms of trying to rest players for Thursday, then Arteta could be in a sticky situation if we go out on Thursday night because he's 2 seasons down. And I know the first one wasn't a full season, but he's lost to Olympiacos and Benfica, right? That to me is just not good enough at all. People want to get into the Champions League. We can't even get through Benfica and Olympiacos. I mean, it is scary to think what it would happen if we were in the Champions League. We wouldn't even get through the group stages, it seems. So we need to look at it in a serious situation to say, is this manager doing the best that he can do? I think so. Unfortunately, it's not good enough. So we need to accept that it's not out of order on Arteta. I'm pointing fingers at the board and the owners here to say, look, you've given a novice a job and we're wondering why we're in 10th. Of course we're in 10th. The guy's not good enough. I know everyone knew. I never wanted him anyway. When he was coming here, I was thinking, really? A first job at Arsenal? Go and learn your trade at Everton or go and do it at Bolton or somewhere like that. Don't come here. So that was why I was so frustrated with it. And you talk about the fan base, and it's an interesting one, Jess, because there is acceptance of mediocrity within this fan base. I've had so many arguments with this section of this fan base in the past because they have no one voice. There's not one united voice. Everybody wants Kroenke out. What are they going to do about it? Nothing. They'll just slate everybody. Slate AFTV, slate We Care Do You, slate Ashburton Army, you know? Oh, yeah, there's only a kid trying to make some atmosphere at the noise. Oh, what a disaster, what a stupid idea. Then they'll go in the ground and complain because it's quiet. You know, that's some of the people in the fan base here. Do you know what I mean? So we need to have an understanding of what section of that fan base is going to make them happy. And I don't think that there is going to be that. There's also the what makes a good Arsenal fan. Am I a good Arsenal fan? I don't know. I support the club how I think I should support it. And I say when I'm not happy. And I only see what is real. I don't look at the future and say, Arteta could be great in 5 years' time. I don't care. I don't care what happens in 5 years' time. I don't know what happens now. And this player might be great in 5 years' time. Yeah, he might be, but he won't be at Arsenal. So let's look at what we are now. Yeah. And where we are now, we are in a terrible, terrible position. And I think that there are certain men of this fan base that have been happy with Granit Xhaka and Mustafi in the last 5 years that think that's about where we are at our level. But I'm looking at players around the Premier League that are in a much better position than us, that have players that are much worse. Because people like, you're telling me that David Moyes has got a better squad than Mikel Arteta? No, he's got them playing. Mikel Arteta can't get a good squad playing. And people can say that this squad is poor and this squad is weak. I look at the situation with Unai Emery, and I would say personally that Unai Emery had a much weaker squad than Mikel Arteta's got. So he
Really?
got
You
them
think that?
100%. So
Wow.
let me tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because if you believe that Kolasinac is better than Tierney, you're buzzing. If you think Iwobi is better than Saka, you're buzzing. If you think El Neni or Torreira is better than Partey, you're buzzing. If you think that Gabriel is a worse defender than Koscielny or Mustafi, you're buzzing. If you think Pablo Mari is worse than David Luiz or Koscielny, this is a much better side. We've got Smith Rowe and Saka coming through. We've got Martinelli coming through. Emery was like, what, working with Mkhitaryan and Iwobi and Danny Welbeck, and he got us to a Europa League final. Listen, Emery had to go 100%. I was behind. He'd lost the dressing room. He couldn't get the players going. They'd all down tools on him. So, of course, he had to go. My point is not that. My point is he was a better manager than Mikel Arteta because he got much more out of that crap side. Those crap players I've just mentioned, yeah? And Mikel Arteta can't get the best out of Thomas Partey and Pablo Mari and Kieran Tierney and Saka and all these players. And we're in 10th. And we sacked Emery when we were in 8th.
Yeah.
I just don't get it, Jess. That's why it is.
I don't really get it either. I just think that, you know, the board has put a lot into this Arteta, project, and to get rid of him now would be almost like, I don't know. I feel like it would be hard for them to do that because they've really put it, like, they've really spinned it in a certain way where it makes it seem like this is the right thing to do. When he first came in, it was like the PR for it was crazy. Like, it wasn't even like the way it was for Unai Emery. It was like, this is the guy we're going with. He's a young, almost like prodigy manager, and they're putting all this into it. I mean, they went out on the last day of the transfer window and got him Thomas Partey on the last day. They clearly are bought into the idea of Arteta being the guy for this project. And that's why I think that they'll persist with it beyond probably what they should if things don't go right. You know, if we get in 10th or we finish in 10th, which we probably will, and we don't win the Europa League, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think they're going to persist on, and then we'll see where we are. But for me, because of all of the, the mitigating circumstances and just the things that are kind of have been out of his control, I would want to give him the transfer window in the summer and then give him until December to get us up the table. Do I think it's likely? No, because I think that all the other teams that are in and around us are going to improve as well. And unless Mikel Arteta improves as a manager, we're not going to get any further. It's not always about what he's getting as, in transfers and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's about, is he improving as a manager? I have no doubt that he's a good coach. But what I do question is him as a manager, his in-game management, his substitutions, his ability to pick a squad, to manage a squad throughout a season, to make the right decisions, when we're down a goal, when we go down a man, things like that. And his management of players individually. What I've seen from him so far is a blanket approach to a certain age profile of players, a blanket approach, and without taking into consideration that every single player at these types of players need different things. Some need an arm around the shoulder, some need, harsh criticism to get them going. And it just seems like with players that are 23 and under, they get the same blanket approach. You either do it my way or you're out. And I don't like that approach because I just feel like he's cutting off his own legs, like he's cutting himself off at the knees, doing things that don't make sense. So for me, it's not so much about Arteta getting into the transfer window and getting better players, because if he's not a good manager, it doesn't matter what he has. Look at Frank Lampard. He has a way better squad than what Arteta has, and he couldn't do anything with that. So unless Arteta improves, nothing is going to happen. That's kind of where I stand with that.
Well, I think you're spot on, and I think Mikel needs to improve, and I think that unfortunately he's not going to have enough time for this fan base to allow him to improve. And listen, I've got nothing against Mikel Arteta. I hope he's successful. Of course I do. I'm an Arsenal fan. I want us to win, but I just don't see enough at the moment that convinces me that he is the right man for the job. And I look at who we could have had in Rafa Benitez, Allegri, Simeone, even
Ancelotti.
Ancelotti, even Brendan Rodgers. I would have taken any of those over this guy, because they're all proven to be either experienced coaches, winning stuff in Europe, in the Premier League, in both. And we picked a novice, and I just think it's a massive mistake. Massive mistake.
Every time you say I'm not a happy bunny, I just imagine like a bunny with like a frown. Like if it's you. I'm gonna find a picture of like a sad bunny and send it to you. So funny.
You should do.
But so kind of like the last thing I want to talk about is something that has absolutely nothing to do with Arsenal, because we are nowhere near the top four. But it is kind of interesting because I'm looking at it, and at this point in the season, you would kind of know who's going to make it into the top four and who's not. But because of the season being so unpredictable, there's a couple of teams that are in and around that space that could actually get up there if they really wanted to. I think Chelsea just tied with Southampton 1-1. So they're at 43 points. West Ham is at 42. Liverpool is at 40. Who do you think is going to miss out on the top four?
Well, I look at the situation here, right? And there are a lot of teams that are still fighting for top four. I'd love to say that we were, but we are not. I think Manchester City are going to walk this league. Okay, period. I just don't see any. They're already 10 points clear. I can see that getting even more personally, because no one else is playing to their ability. I think Manchester United have got too good a squad not to be in the top four. I think Liverpool, once they have their players back, again, have got too good a squad to not get into the top four. They can't go from title winners to fifth place. It just won't happen, in my opinion. Once they get Van Dijk and Gomez, who are both now back in the gym, by the way, and Fabinho and players like that back, I think Liverpool will be absolutely fine for maybe second or third place. Okay? So those three definites. I'm going to go for Chelsea because they've got an experienced manager and their squad is just too good. And although they drew today, that's not a bad result against Southampton, who are playing very, very well this season. You wouldn't look at that and go, what a shocking result for Chelsea. That's actually not a bad result. So I think Leicester will miss out
Wow.
because they always do. um, and I look at Leicester and just think that they are a great side with a great manager, but I don't look at their squad and think that it's strong enough. Personally, a couple of injuries to Jamie Vardy or Madison or both, and I think that they will probably slip up. I don't think Spurs have got anywhere near enough to get top four. Neither have Arsenal, and I think that West Ham, although they're having an absolute blinder of a season, that they will fall off. With Everton and Villa, I think although they've got games in hand, they're quite tough games in hand. And I'm talking about a squad, and I don't see that Everton's squad or Aston Villa's squad is good enough, albeit they've probably got a better first 11 than Arsenal.
Mhm.
But I actually look at both of them teams and think that they've had, along with West Ham, three of the best seasons they're going to have. And anybody outside of that, including us, I just don't see it. So if you ask me the top four, Manchester City, Manchester United, Liverpool, and Chelsea.
All right, so we're going to disagree here. So for me, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I think Leicester might have enough this time. I think they might have enough this time.
I
I
hope
think
so. I do
that,
hope so.
yeah, I think they might just be the dark horse. I think, looking at the way Liverpool is playing, I think even if they get those players in towards the end of the season, it'll be too far gone. What I see from Liverpool is a lack of confidence, and if they don't have confidence, they become, I don't want to say they're mediocre because they're not, but the confidence and the energy and their go, go, go pressing, the way that they play, that rock and roll football, as they were calling it, if they don't have that, they're really, to me, like top six, because it's not so much about the ability of those players. I think a lot of the Liverpool players are not even as good as, the players at City, the players at Chelsea, but it's the system that they play and the energy that they play with. And I haven't seen that energy consistently this season. Klopp looks tired. I'm not sure, his energy is the energy that pushes that team forward. And if he doesn't have that, I just don't see them pushing forward. And I also didn't even take into account, I did a poll the other day when Liverpool, they lost one of their games. And I was like, what is it? Is it, the injuries? Is it, not enough preseason? What is it? Is it Klopp? Is he not, the manager for them anymore? And I didn't take into consideration until somebody said in the comments, but it's probably the fans, not having fans in the stands at Anfield. That has to be what it is. Like they need that Anfield is a fortress type of thing to move them forward. I think a lot of soft factors make Liverpool the team that they are, and they don't have those right now. So I would say that they're going to miss out. I think the top four is going to be what it is right now with Man City, Manchester United, Leicester, and Chelsea. I think Chelsea got rid of their manager at the perfect time, and they were able to get him in when they were playing games that were easier so that they can build a little bit of momentum moving into the harder fixtures. And I don't see West Ham as a true top four contender. If they slipped in there, I'd be very, very, very shocked. Very shocked. So I think that's what it's going to be. And to me, it makes sense. Those are the strongest teams at this point. You know, I would, if Liverpool is in the Europa League next season,
Can you imagine?
After winning, that would be a shocker, I think.
Unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, Liverpool have always had a good 11 and their squad's always been pretty weak, but they've been quite fortunate in the past, I'd say, couple of seasons to have that 11 fit majority of the time. And I think that when we went unbeaten back in 2004, we were in a similar situation where only three or four other players, apart from that 11, were top draw, like the Ray Parlers and the Edus and the kind of Jose Antonio Reyes that come in. I think Liverpool are like that. They've got a few in midfield that are class, but other than that, when one of their front three's out, they're not the same. And when their centre half is out in Van Dijk, they're really not the same. And I think they've had both of that. Their midfield has gone because their midfielders are now playing at centre back, and their front three has not been as consistent because of that balancing or lack of balance in midfield. But I just think when they get a couple of those players back, I think they'll go on a run because I think they're just too good. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think it'll be Leicester who drop out. But listen, I hope I'm wrong because I actually like Leicester. Do you know what? If it wasn't for if you said to me, who do you want to see win the league? I wouldn't care if it was Leicester. I really wouldn't because I think that what they've done is the right thing. They've sold some huge players and they've replaced them really well. Their recruitment is fantastic. To get rid of Harry Maguire for 85 and just say to Soyuncu, how about you just come in and do twice the job that's better. When they lost Kante and they got Ndidi, when they lost Mahrez and they got Harvey Barnes, they've not really looked at those positions and gone, wow, we missed those 6 players so much. And although that they were never going to win a title again because it was a fluke, I think they've done quite well considering they've lost some players. I think they've been there or thereabouts every season. So I have a lot of respect for Leicester, if I'm honest.
I would say that Leicester has pretty much replaced us in the top four. I
100%.
think, at first it didn't really seem like it. I was like, okay, well, maybe they'll drop off at a certain point, but they're going strength for strength every single season, and they make huge strides every season, which is I think the season that we came in like fifth, they were just outside the top six, I think, like maybe seventh or something like that. And then they made it in the next season. Like, it's just, they get better and better and better, and they seem to make all the right decisions when we seem to be making all the wrong decisions. Like, I don't know. Edu, if you're listening to this, copy and paste, go look and see what Leicester's been doing and just do that. Like, just try to do that because they're doing everything right. I do like Leicester. I hate when we play them because I can't stand Vardy, but I do respect them as a club because I think, no, because you just know he's going to score. Like, you just know he's going to score. Even when we played them earlier this season, it was like they started talking about it from minute one. Yeah, so they're going to get through 60 minutes, and if it's still close, they're going to bring Vardy in for the last 30, try to get that one goal. What happened? 60 minutes went by, he came in, he scored. So, but I would love to have a striker like Vardy on our team. I like him.
Could have had him, couldn't we? Could have had him
against us.
yeah.
Well, yeah, allegedly we could have had him. We could have had a lot of players, but whatever. But yeah, I think this was good. I think we did a good job. We talked about a bunch of different things. We talked about Arsenal stuff and not Arsenal stuff. So yeah, I think we did a good job. This was the first, show for this channel. It will get better, I promise. But thank you so much for being a part of, this first show on my channel. I really appreciate it. You're one of my favorites, even though you're not a happy bunny, sad bunny, but I'll definitely get you back on whenever you have time. I know you're busy. And if you're still in the chat right now, just make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel and follow Dan on Twitter at, say it.
At Dan Arsenal 87.
Perfect. And you can follow me at It's Jessinho. And yeah, that's it, you guys. Thanks. See you next time.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, Jess.